Welcome to Jesus.
After being baptized, Jesus immediately came.
Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current live stream leaked video analyzer, and I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, and every year Jehovah's Witnesses have a summer convention series. They rent out stadiums for 3 days of, yes, boring Bible talks, but also delightfully, cringy, pre-recorded and edited and highly produced propaganda videos where witnesses are instructed on how to deal with some of the issues that they face in their unique lives as God's one true organization. Jehovah's Witnesses live a different life, and so if they encounter some difficulties, how are they supposed to handle those? What if somebody offers you a free blood transfusion or a birthday cake? They just come at you, start shaking you. Hey, it's birthday time, buddy. Take a bite of this cupcake. Well, what are you going to do? Neither of those scenarios are going to be discussed today, but as usual, some of these videos have leaked early, even though the convention season is really just starting. And these leaks were not sent to me directly or to avoidjw.org, which is a database of a lot of their leaked stuff. This was sent to Kim and Mikey. So the link is in the description. If you want to watch these without commentary, I'm going to stop and pause and react to these, most of which I really haven't seen. So you'll be getting my live raw reactions, but they currently don't really exist without commentary anywhere. Oh, thank you. And as we watch, I may be eating some of the dinner that my wife just served me. My wonderful wife, Christina, shout out. And yeah, I was thinking about going over a new governing body update that just came out as well, but I think we're going to save that for Sunday because there's a lot more here that I thought. So we're going to kind of kick off with the video that's really the talk of the town, this anti-apostate demonstration video. A lot of words I should probably explain, but Jehovah's Witnesses, their first and primary concern these days, at least the leadership, seems to be Jehovah's Witnesses watching videos like the one that you're watching right now. Criticisms from ex-members, the allegations and or court cases involving child sexual abuse. Those things the organization really doesn't want its members to engage with because they don't really have a good answer to their criticisms. Or maybe they do. We'll see. They don't. But maybe. So let's get into it. I had enough time to put together a goofy edit of Jesus getting baptized. We'll be getting to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, a little bit later. But first, let's just kind of dive into this. This is the video that everyone's talking about, and I have watched most of it, but kind of just on my lunch break at work, so I wasn't paying that close attention. Here we go.
Bethel's nice, but you have to think about your future.
If people could hear...
Okay, so Bethel's nice, but you got to think about your future. Whatever this demonstration is, we don't know the full context. The way it usually works is that like a speaker is giving a sermon, and then he'll say, in the following video, notice what our sister has to contend with in the workplace. And then they'll show a video. It's like driver's ed class, but it's like JW lifestyle ed. And so we don't really know what talk is introducing this, but Bethel is the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. Obviously, witnesses are encouraged to apply. They have to fill out an application. They're encouraged to go there. And Bethel is kind of the JW version of the Sea Org that Scientology has. It's a compound where you live there. You live with roommates who are Jehovah's Witnesses. You get up early in the morning, go to morning worship, and then work all day doing projects for the organization. You live, eat, breathe, and sleep JW stuff. And so it would seem that a nefarious worldly person is trying to dissuade somebody from joining Bethel. Sorry, that was like 0.5 seconds in. Let me restart that.
But you have to think about your future.
If people could hear your truth. you would be an encouragement to so many people.
When I was your age, they told me all the time that the end could come tomorrow. But look at us. We're still here. And
Wow. Whew, okay, there's a lot right there. There's a lot right there right off the bat. But you know what? I think that we should watch a little bit more, and then I can go back and react. But we're hearing some bad advice. And now this guy, I know because I have pre-watched Livestream Sins, I know. But this gentleman here on the screen is a good Jehovah's Witness who is conflicted about somebody who is like his friend or his brother. I'm not really sure.
we've been able to make.
What's wrong?
I'm worried about them. They're different.
They're different.
Yeah. I kind of felt that too.
You know, whenever I ask him how things going in their congregation, he won't give me a straight answer.
Really?
Make notes.
And he's always shifting the conversation to something negative about the organization.
How? What are you gonna do?
I don't know. But I sure hope I'm wrong.
Whoa. Okay. Let's analyze that thing that just happened. A lot packed into every line. Now, I don't really know what's going on here, and I am an idiot and very ignorant of many things in life. I don't know if this has come up before on the channel, but I was raised in a cult. It was a little insular. But this guy's wife, in the couple snippets of dramatizations that have leaked, she's always wearing this head covering, and I don't know, like, if there's a reason for that, if they live in some part of the world where that's normal. But generally speaking, like, wearing a head covering all the time as a Jehovah's Witness sister would be a little strange. You're encouraged to wear a head covering when you are in the presence of a baptized Christian male. You know, you're not allowed to say a prayer as a woman in the organization for the congregation unless you're wearing a head covering. Well, no. Not even in the congregation. Let's not get into it. But there's a head covering. That's kind of odd. But he says that they're different.
They're different.
They're different.
Yeah. I kind of felt that too.
And she has also felt this. There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? Just a little quote from Supreme Leader Snoke right there. This stream is not off to a great start. But by they're different, they mean they're not the same. It's like this other couple that was saying things like, what about your truth? And hey, when I was a kid, they were saying the end was going to come, and yet we're still here. So maybe they're full of shit. That's what makes them different, is they are critical of the organization.
You know, whenever I ask him how things going in their congregation, he won't give me a straight answer.
Really?
Oh, no. Dodgy. What's going on in the congregation? Well, I don't know. Suspicious. Very suspicious behavior for a Jehovah's Witness. You are supposed to be able to accurately report to the thought police what's going on in the congregation. And the fact that you are not intimately aware of what's going on in the congregation is deeply sus. And susser still, they're always directing conversations towards negative talk about the organization. I mean, imagine being in the workplace and being an employee, and somebody had some kind of criticism of the leadership. Well, obviously that kind of person should be fired immediately. That's kind of the vibe here. What I found really interesting about this is that these criticisms, at least this one guy's criticism, is kind of valid.
But you have to think about your future.
If people could hear your truth, you would be an encouragement to so many people.
This is in the context in the convention, as far as I can tell, is this is sort of a montage of stuff that we ostensibly would have seen earlier. So we don't really know who she's talking about with people need to hear your truth. But I've noticed that Jehovah's Witnesses really don't like that term. My dad actually threw that out when he knew that I was questioning and I was acting different and therefore suspicious and scary. He kind of brought this up apropos of nothing, like, people these days are always talking about their truth, but there's only one truth. What does that mean, your truth? And, I guess I find the phrase, like, I'm going to speak my truth a little cringy, but it's not invalid. And what's definitely valid is what this guy says, which is that they keep on saying the end's going to come and it keeps on, not happening, despite how certain they consistently are that it's just around the corner.
When I was your age, they told me all the time that the end could come tomorrow. But look at us. We're still here. And we've been able to...
It fades out. We're still here. And we've been able to... We can't really hear what he says, but maybe it's go to college and have kids and build up some savings so that we're not constantly on the edge of financial collapse and we're super reliant upon the JW religion to bolster us. Maybe. So anyway, I'm going to take a couple bites of my food and let's get into the next little segment here. Bo is very, very interested in my food. He is nudging my arm and making it difficult.
But I sure hope I'm wrong.
Hey, Justin, I want you to read this article I just sent you. It's gonna change the way you see the organization. Get back to me. Did you get that message I sent you?
Why would you send that to me?
Okay. All right, the play-by-play. First of all, we had a great comment here from Brian Boer, who says, small criticisms. Ignore the sour cream on my lips. And ignore Bo rubbing his head on my head in case I give him a quesadilla. Small criticisms are gateways to straight-up apostasy. That's exactly true. You are never, ever, under any circumstances, supposed to speak negatively about the organization, about anybody in the organization, or about decisions that are made for your local congregation, just anything, because they are all gateways to questioning the larger structure of, like, hey, are we sure that the governing body are appointed by Jesus? We'll see a little bit of the governing body in future clips, and I can confirm they're not taking my PR advice in some instances. Another little detail here, whoever the other guy, the bad witness, the Jake stand-in, let's call him, what I believe this is, let me zoom and enhance. Okay, I can't because this is like 480p. Maybe somebody can point out what this book is, but it's like an old Jehovah's Witness book, and I think it's a book for Pioneer School. I think that the implication is that, like, these two kids went to Pioneer School together. So this guy who's criticizing, he used to be a good witness, but some horrible dark force has corrupted him, much like the dark side of the force itself. And it's turning this gentleman into a Sith Lord.
That message I sent you?
Why would you send that to me?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the message that he sent was just, this is going to change everything that you think about the organization. I'll say this, just a pro tip for anybody trying to reach Jehovah's Witnesses. That's not the strat. That's really not the strat at all, to try and get a JW interested in what you're saying. Because, I mean, that is something that's going to kind of make them shut down. They feel that they do know the truth about the organization. And so the only truth that anybody else could have must be a lie. It must be something that suggests in some way that Jehovah's Witnesses don't have the truth. And that is impossible. Therefore, it's not worth listening to. Ooh, very nice. Jenny Bloom. Shining as Illuminators. What a great book. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I got to give full credit to Villain of the Year who said it first. All right, and now this is the confrontation that folks have been talking about. A real back and forth, well, not real, dramatization between a burgeoning apostate and a Jehovah's Witness standing up for his faith.
Better yet, why are you reading that garbage? It's all lies.
Garbage? How do you know if it's garbage if you haven't even read it?
Listen, you need to talk with your elders, because you need help.
Biting my tongue.
And if you don't speak to them, I will.
Wow. That's what you feel. I need help. I don't need any help, man. I'm finding the answers to my questions, bro. And I'm keeping an open mind.
Open mind? You're ignoring Jehovah's thinking. The truth saved our lives.
Look, man, how long have we known each other? I would never steer you wrong. I'm not out to hurt you. I'm trying to help you. How long have you known me?
Okay. No. We need to go back. First of all, just small critique on the writing. How long have we known each other is like the most famous example that any writer will go to as to like what's a bad cliche to suggest a shared history between two characters, because nobody ever says that. How long have we known each other? That's not really the point. The point is probably all the insane culty things that are being said. Yeah, sorry. So let me rewind. Let me rewind here for a second. I want to do a little play-by-play here. I find this goatee unflattering for this particular gentleman, but we've seen him in a video before, right? This guy's been in another video. Hopefully somebody knows. We can watch the tape.
Garbage. It's all lies.
Garbage? How do you know if it's garbage if you haven't even read it?
Okay, why are you sending me this garbage? And better yet, why are you reading this garbage? That is what a JW is supposed to say. Now, what I find fascinating about this, and what a lot of ex-JWs are really surprised by, is that this guy's response is genuinely a valid response. Like, usually there is more of a straw man built, right? But this guy, I think Watchtower must have realized that this is kind of an inescapable issue with their anti-apostate logic, which is, how do you know if something is a lie if you're unwilling to read it? You can't, obviously. And so, yes, the fake apostate says a thing a real apostate might say. But this guy doesn't have an answer, because there is no answer. I brought this up in a video. Maybe I'll link that in the description later. I think it's like how cult leaders respond to criticism or get around criticism, something like that. And it's this trend that I noticed watching like cult leaked videos and stuff and documentaries, where increasingly cult leaders will acknowledge that they are perceived as a cult by the world. They'll acknowledge that. And they will acknowledge that a criticism exists. And in so doing, like in acknowledging the criticism, it kind of deflates it in the member's mind. Like I remember feeling this as a Jehovah's Witness when it came to like homophobia. As a young, in denial queerman, I was very uncomfortable with the religion's stance on just their anti-LGBTQ everything, another dangerous form of apostate reasoning, but I was uncomfortable with it. And so when the organization just like would publish an article saying we're not homophobic, I was like, okay, thank God, there it is, it's in writing. And so on some level, like the fact that the organization acknowledges this criticism, it makes you feel, if you're a member, like, well, they wouldn't bring this up if it was a valid complaint, because they wouldn't want me to know about it, right? If this was a cult, they wouldn't tell me that people are, like, it doesn't really make sense. But I think that is the strategy address that people are going to hear this thing, so that when you do hear this thing as a Jehovah's Witness, now, like, you associate it with this video, and you're like, oh my God, it is God's organization. They knew that I would encounter some kind of trial just like this, and that there would be some apostate who said something like, how do you know that something isn't true if you won't even read the thing? I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Listen,
and I will catch up with comments.
you need to talk with your elders, because you need help. And if you don't speak to them, I will.
Incredible. In my opinion, this kind of undercuts the cleverness of what they just did, because there can't be any more indication that you're in a cult than this. You are doubting the organization. No, I will not listen to your reasons, because by virtue of their existence, they must be invalid. So what you need to do is to go to the church police. And if you don't report yourself to the church police, I'm going to report you and rat you out so that you can get cast out and shunned. And Jehovah's Witnesses have recently had it reiterated that apostates are to be fully shunned. They don't get any of these niceties that witnesses are adding for, people who were just disfellowshipped or removed for masturbating too much or looking at pornography or smoking cigarettes or whatever. So this is probably the cultiest response you could possibly have. Like, hey, you better fess up to the thought police. Otherwise, I'm going to report you to Big Brother myself. But also, I don't need to, because, Jehovah's always watching, and he'll expose it one way or the other. You can just sort of feel the panic of the religion itself in this video. It's kind of wild. And then it kind of becomes next level insane, because we start comparing this man to literally Satan. That's not new. They've always done that. Apostates are agents of Satan. I know that my family said that I was, it's one thing to be on the fence, but it's a different thing to jump to Satan's side of the fence and start fighting Jehovah's people.
It's okay to be indecisive.
Yeah, Christina says, it's okay to be indecisive. But making a decision to leave is unacceptable, and that means you're influenced by Satan. Oh, wait, this guy says something else, too. Wow. That's what it was. He goes, if I had more time beforehand, I would have done some fun edits with his whistle. All in due time, I'm sure.
That's what you feel. I need help. I don't need any help, man. I'm finding the answers to my questions, bro.
Now, this is where, they start to get straw-man-y a little bit, because, if, a witness said that stuff to me, about, I'm going to report you to the elders, I would say, I would say what I just said on stream. I'd say, don't you think that kind of tells you something, that we can't even have an honest conversation about criticisms? You're too terrified to even look at it for a second, and the fact that I have it means you're going to, rat me out so that I get in trouble? Isn't that a little... he's not going to go down that path. But they didn't have to make it like this. They didn't have to film the video this way, but their main concern is not sincerely addressing the criticisms of their members. It's addressing that those criticisms exist, and then finding a way to ignore them, sweep them under the rug, and most importantly, if you hear of somebody talking like this, you rat on them. You snitch on them. Snitches do not get stitches, they get riches in the kingdom of heaven, says Jehovah's Witnesses. And, sorry, I said I would get to comments later, but I just happened to see this one. As a PME, I always hated that they never addressed those apostate-driven lies. I never felt comfortable with that. It was never faith-strengthening. And I won't get into it, because I've talked about it before at great length, but that is really the genesis of me starting to unravel my faith, was just seeing more and more stuff like this. And I was like, but if it's false, then why aren't we just debunking it? Why are we just avoiding what the arguments are? And so they're kind of getting there a little bit with acknowledging, well, the end hasn't come yet, so what the hell's going on there? I'll make some notes so that I can play the rest of this. But I don't know that this guy saying, like, I don't need any help. Like, it makes this guy seem cocky and arrogant. Like, I don't need any help. I'm finding the answers to my questions. Yeah.
And I'm keeping an open mind.
Open mind? You're ignoring Jehovah's thinking.
Open mind? What the hell kind of talk is that? That's not what you're supposed to do as a Christian. You close that mind right up. You just close all the parts of your mind that have criticisms of your flesh and blood leaders who are constantly telling you not to read stuff about them on the internet. Open mind is bad. You're ignoring Jehovah's something or other. Jehovah told you not to ever read anything critical on the internet, and yet you did. Bad. You did a bad job.
The truth saved our lives.
How so? Maybe this is established earlier in the convention, since we just only have this clip right now, which I wish I would have said this up top. Please, for the love of God, if you do have like access to all these videos, please send them to me or a Star Wars story. avoidjw.org. They can host it there. But yeah, I would love to cover the full context of this stuff. How am I going to make my awkward silence supercuts of, 36 hours of convention material if nobody sends me the raw materials?
Look, man, how long have we known each other? I would never steer you wrong. I'm not out to hurt you. I'm trying to help you.
That's something Satan would say. Satan would say that he was not trying to steer you wrong. Even though, like, they say the same thing about the governing body. We would never steer you wrong. We always have your best interests at heart. Plus, an invisible guy who you can't call or check his real opinions, the invisible guy says that he appointed us. I mean, he didn't say it out loud, even to us, because this is an invisible process and we've admitted that we're not appointed by Holy Spirit, or we don't commune directly with Jesus. Sorry. Jesus and Satanas.
How long have you known?
Oh, I'm setting aside this comment.
To tell these stones to become loaves of bread.
I'm trying to share with you the truth.
That's kind of different. I think Satan challenging Jesus to use magical powers is a little bit different than saying, hey, read this article in the newspaper.
Throw yourself down.
Do you really think I would steer you wrong?
I will give you all this authority.
I definitely don't need any help from them.
Do an act of worship before me. Go away, Satan.
Stop.
There's only one truth.
Go away, Satan. That's so crazy. That's so fucking crazy. Because, this doesn't this kind of underscore the fact that these examples are not comparable at all? Jesus is being confronted by literally Satan. It was not a deception, right? It's like, hey, I'm Satan. I would like to present you with some challenges, in much the way that Gollum presented Bilbo with some challenges in that cave that one time. That's kind of the riddles in the dark of the Bible. And Satan is like, hey, you should use your God powers to do this. And if you do this, I will grant you even more God powers. Satan powers, I think you would call them, canonically. And that's obviously just super different than somebody saying, I read this thing, and I think you should read it. But this really betrays the fact that cults are just fucking terrified of criticism. Criticism in general. It's why book bans and book burnings happen. Somebody who is unafraid of their own position on something doesn't silence dissent. I watch their stuff and respond to it. I'm not afraid of their JW materials because I feel pretty confident that even if I've never seen it before, I'll be able to take it in and process it and work out my feelings on it. But if you are deeply insecure, if you have, so to speak, built your house upon sand instead of a rock mass, which I don't know if it's great to build your house on a rock anyway, but we can talk about that later. Like, you'd only do that if you have no confidence that what you were saying is, like, definitely true. Only the weak-minded. Well, Fritz, that's an interesting suggestion, but I can't do that because then the video would be taken down. I have to pause it and talk about it, and also it's part of the fun is to pause it and get a reaction.
And it comes from Jehovah.
And
You're gonna walk away
Jehovah.
like that? What are you so afraid of? Man, stop being a coward.
Don't be weak. They're just telling you what you need to do.
Can't really hear the end of that. Oh my God. Amazing. And, you know, it's another form of that inoculation because it is cowardly. It's deeply cowardly to just ban books, right? It's deeply cowardly to just suppress information. We don't like this guy's, we don't like what these people are saying. So now, if you ever read what they're saying or watch their videos, you go to jail. Not jail, but, you know, you're kicked out of the group. So that's the first one, and it kind of seems like there's more to this, but that's all that we have from the Kim and Mikey channel. So that is our first video, and my God, that's really, that's a wild ride. I wanted to present, there's some really good discussion of this on the ex-Jehovah Reddit. I happened to see this post before I started recording, and I thought this was so good. This is by Jealous Leadership 76. He says, Apostate Video 2025, they made the apostate follow Bible principles, and the PME rejects them. PME is physically in, mentally in, so like a believing witness. So here's what they said. What stood out the most to me is the part where the apostate asks, how do you even know if it's garbage when you haven't read it? The question is literally the same as, to answer before listening, that is folly and shame. Proverbs 18:13. They literally have an apostate displaying Bible principles, and the PME rejects it. That's hilarious. Yeah, and it like the Bereans in the Bible who test out every word. And the way that Jehovah's Witnesses try and twist that is like, well, we have scriptural references in the parentheses after things that we say. And so if you should just look up the verse, and if it kind of vaguely matches up with what we're saying in the paragraph, then yeah, you tested it out and you prove it. But if you ever disbelieve us or think that we're misapplying a scripture, get behind me, Satan. You're no good. You're bad. It's really crazy. Yeah, the truth doesn't mind being questioned, but a lie will. Yep. That's wild. I'm kind of baffled. And notably, the JW, the fictional JW, in this fictional scenario, where they could have had him give the most incredible monologue defending Jehovah's Witnesses ever. Like it could, like, right? They could have written something that's truly spectacular that knocks Jehovah's Witnesses off their feet. I mean, these people at the teaching department of Jehovah's Witness World Headquarters, Holy Spirit's upon them. The angels are backing their work. I mean, this is food from Jehovah. But we don't get that. We don't get an inspiring Lutheran Rail-esque monologue. Call back to Andor from earlier. No, we get, no, I don't want to hear that. The truth saved your life in a vague way I'm not going to clarify. You're not supposed to listen to that garbage. And no, I don't know that it's garbage because I haven't read it. And yes, I will just drive away with full plans on ratting you out to the thought police of our church. Not great. Not a great job. And so there's been some question like, well, is this going to be effective for Jehovah's Witnesses? And the answer is like, yeah. Anytime a cult does a cult thing, for the most part, it is not going to seismically shift the base. Like, when you're in a cult, you have to believe it for your own self-preservation, like your own ego. Every part of your brain and your self-worth is now tied to the group. So obviously most people are just going to passively accept anything that they say. The video I'm working on next, that will be coming out soon, you can watch a preview now on Patreon. Blah, blah, blah. I talk about this thing that I kind of noticed recently, which is that at a certain point, the actions of a cult leader just don't matter at all. Like, the actions don't matter to a cult follower. What matters is the justification of the actions. As long as there is any justification or excuse, as long as there is an answer, that's fine. You see that, or at least I felt like we saw it in the early days of the Trump administration with Doge, where it was all just like clearly illegal, and sometimes like Trump will just do something that's totally off the rails and like off message for his administration, and you will kind of see in real time on Twitter, Rumble, whatever, the base like freaking out a little bit. Maybe there's some pushback, they're worried about it, but as soon as the party coalesces and there is an explanation, even if it's nonsense, that placates them, and they're totally fine. Because all they need is something. As long as there is some excuse that allows them to maintain their existing beliefs, they'll latch on to it, because the alternative would be scary. Okay, well, now that we've scared off the 10 MAGA people who were watching, let's go to our next clip. People are familiar with my famous catchphrase, "Let's roll the clip," which I invented. And I'm trying to find the upload video file button. What do we want to do next, folks? Do we want Jesus? Or do we want David-splain? Now that I've said that, I feel like it's disrespectful to Jesus. But then again, so is
After being baptized.
So, I did that silly edit at the start of this stream. Well, let's play it again for later.
Welcome to Jesus.
After being baptized, Jesus immediately came.
Right. So there's like a solid 3 minutes, no joke, of just Jesus slowly walking into the water in his big diaper that he wears. Christina liked that. Slowly walking in, and this music is playing, and John the Baptizer is sensually laying his hand over Jesus's, just his bare flesh, quite frankly, in his hairy chest. It's slightly homoerotic, and it's silent, like there's no dialogue or anything, and they dunk him. And so I've started the clip after that, because otherwise it's just like, yes.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, with Jesus diaper, is that why Trump supporters think he's the Messiah, because he also wears a diaper?
I don't know if that picked up on Mike, but she said, is that why Christian nationalists support Trump, is because he also wears a diaper? Which is mean, and he's our president, okay? We should be respectful. Okay, I almost mentioned Man of Steel. It was like if Man of Steel was not directed well. I mean, I guess debatable on Zack Snyder's style, but you watch this Jesus movie and you realize there's some talent to what he's doing, because it was better than this. I'll say it. Man of Steel, a better Jesus movie than The Good News According to Jesus Part 2.
Jesus immediately came up from the water.
What the fuck does that mean? Jesus immediately came up from the water. Why do you even say that? We know that he wasn't down there indefinitely or for 5 minutes. What are we talking about? Cut that. That's my note for the screenwriters of Good News According to Jesus. It might be a little late. It seems like they've already released this in some form. Whoa! And now he is getting Jason Bourne-like flashbacks to his heavenly life. a little nervous about just how much score there is, because like that's what YouTube picks up more than anything on the copyright thing. And sometimes they don't write their own original music. Sometimes they will get stock music and pay for it, which is fine. I mean, unless you are constantly bragging about your music department and how God directs it and stuff. Beside the point. Jesus is very handsome in this. Can we just say that? I mean, I'm guilty of being a little thirsty for some of the JW ladies in these videos. I try and check myself to just equal opportunity, bisexual stream. Jesus can get it. Brother Smith of the Warwick 3 congregation, or whoever this guy is, he's jacked, and he really grew into the role. Now, this is actually kind of scandalous when you think about it. I'm realizing this in real time. I mean, this is not their first foray into Jesus movies. What do I even type in to get this? But, like, let's do a little compare and contrast here, because they kind of himbified? How do we say that? How do we say this made-up word? I just searched Jesus because I don't know what this video is called, but they did this weird series of videos before that were like live-action stage plays. Oh yeah, I think Flow of Blood. It was the lady with the flow of blood. A sick woman is cured. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking of. And I always thought this guy was handsome too. But one weird thing is that this guy, like his... They got a different voice actor for Jesus. Like, they clearly dubbed over him with someone. Is it Bozo? We don't know. So this is crap. Like, this is terrible. I understand why they wanted to put more effort into their Jesus movie than this. But it's a little bit like, this is a 3 out of 10, and they've made a 4 out of 10 now, all things considered. No. Let's show us Jesus. I just want to show us the difference in Jesus and kind of how they're perpetuating these unrealistic body type standards for men. Now look at this guy. Look at this skinny white boy. Obviously this was a Jesus I could relate to. But now we have just Chad Jesus. Cut Chad chest hair Jesus. Built like a brick shit house. I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like if I was the last Jesus actor, I would feel a little betrayed. Like Judas himself. Oh my God,
And look,
it's God.
The heavens were opened up.
Oh my dad.
And he saw God's Spirit descending
And it's a dove.
like a dove
It's like
and coming upon him.
Okay, they really... I'm glad I paused it here. Sorry, yeah, it is a little loud. Yeah, also, I mean, that looks like some Manscaped body hair to me. Yeah.
I think Jesus needs more abs, by the way.
Wow. I don't know how to feel about that. Christina says, I think Jesus needs more abs. And this Jesus has more abs than me, so that feels like commentary.
Look, also, a voice from the heavens said,
This is my Son,
This is my
the beloved, whom I have approved.
Wow. It's beautiful. I'm just trying not to cry. Imagine getting baptized at the age of 30, and then you come up out of the water immediately. You don't linger under the water. You're not going for a swim, okay? You're with John the Baptist. And you come up immediately out of the water, and your dad sends the ghost of a dove into your head and says that he approves of you. Beautiful. The poetic language of the New World Translation. Well, that was quite something. Beep, beep, beep. All right, let me get our next clip ready here, folks. Oh, you're right. You're right. It does. It Mufasa vibes. Everything the light touches. Everything the dove touches when it flies into your head. Why would he be all giddy? He's known his dad for 1,000,000 years. Yeah, what if he was like, oh, God, I didn't realize it until now, but it was great forgetting about my dad. Dude, this dude is 100% going to wake up and go to Hollywood. I don't know. Are we seeing acting chops from this gentleman? No shade. I guess he is a better actor than the previous Jesus in the organization's like own estimation, right? Because they recast the previous guy. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Next video, we're gonna go to David Splan. This is really weird. And remember now, I'm just going off of what Kim and Mikey posted to their channel. So this is just whatever was sent them. And this is, like, I think an intro for day 3 of the convention. Like, it's kind of like an intro, like a Reading Rainbow kind of sit down with David Splan. And he, like, recaps some stuff.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you've enjoyed spending 3 days together in pure worship of Jehovah.
Here's what pure worship to Jehovah looks like. I know you might think it's magical and awe-inspiring, not literally magical, but you've seen movies. You've seen scenes in church where people are like singing their hearts out and crying and all just in one voice, really feeling something. A JW convention is not like that. It is you sit in an uncomfortable plastic stadium chair for approximately 8 hours while your balls stick to your legs wearing a suit from Burlington Coat Factory, and you sit under fluorescent lighting quietly taking notes while you listen to guys who are at least this old speak in a monotone and then occasionally pause and play the worst video you've ever seen. And that's what pure worship looks like. Thank you very much. And also pure worship looks like a dude sitting in a chair in front of a shitty screensaver. Why would they do this? Why is this better than just filming it wherever his chair actually was?
Now, let's review some key points from our convention, focusing on how we can imitate Jesus. As we watched episodes 2 and 3 of The Good News According to Jesus, did you notice how Jesus maintained his integrity?
Yes, it does. It looks like the Zoom backgrounds.
Did you notice his zeal for pure worship?
Did you notice his
Did you notice how he dealt with his disciples?
They want me to do this. They want me to make these supercuts of them saying notice so much. Because he's just like rapid firing the word notice. I feel like this is entrapment. Like, I'm going to do this, and they're like, that idiot. We knew he was going to do that. Now we can exploit this new law where if you make a supercut, you go to El Salvador.
And with others.
I just feel like I'm being tempted.
First, let's consider Jesus' example of integrity.
Consider it.
In the symposium, imitate Jesus' responses to the tempter. We
Not
saw how we
symposiums.
can remain loyal to Jehovah.
Also,
We
tempter, I
reject
hardly know
fleshly
her.
desires.
If this app could lead me to damage my relationship with Jehovah, it's not for me.
We avoid drawing undue attention to ourselves.
Hi, everyone. everyone that may be watching. I just really wanted to share with you all my truth about this whole experience.
Updating friends and family is one thing, but this feels wrong.
We resist the lure of wealth and prominence.
Satan has always done this.
And we refuse to listen to those who have rejected the truth.
Oh, chat is popping off. Oh, shit. Okay. The video ends there because this is what leads into the apostate video that we watched earlier. There's actually a lot packed in there. And I could make a joke about that, but we won't. Now, the governing body, very humble. Jehovah's organization is so different. We don't have titles, okay? We're all just fellow worshipers. But also, this is David H. Splain of the governing body. Thank you very much. And he has a name tag in case you have... I don't even know what kind of vision you would have to not be able to read this Chiron on the screen, but you can read his name tag. But he really wants you to know that his name is David H. Splain. And the H, what does it stand for, everybody? Jesus. We know that.
Spending 3 days together in pure worship of Jehovah. Now, let's review some key points from our convention, focusing on how we can imitate Jesus.
Imitating Jesus. Now, one of Jesus's most famous... couldn't think of any words. One of the most famous Jesus stories in the Bible is when Jesus had to delete a social media app from his phone that was causing him to, I guess, just not spend enough time at the meetings. It's a gateway to apostate content.
As we watched episodes 2 and 3 of The Good News According to Jesus, did you notice how Jesus maintained his integrity under test?
Under test, okay. Right, well, we talked about that. Jesus' tests were just very, very different than... Oh, hello. We have a visitor, folks, before we get into the play-by-play. And it's Peachy! Please send love to Peach.
She's been sick.
She's been sick. She's had some tummy troubles, but she's doing a little better today.
Yeah.
Mommy just gave her a nice bath and wiped her poopy butt.
I did wipe her poopy butt.
Thank you, Peach. Thank you for reminding us that good and beautiful things exist in this world.
And they don't consist of a man in a diaper. Nicely manscaped.
Listen, I really shouldn't make fun of people who need adult diapers, but it is funny to think that Jesus wore
for pure
diaper.
worship?
No, I definitely.
Did you notice
how
he dealt with his disciples?
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to play that. Thank you. And you know the best part of a Peach break is that we get to reflect on our spiritual paradise.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
I've been holding off on the sound drops. Is Jesus in a type of fetish content? Listen, I can make anything fetish content if I really want to. Jesus needed that dopamine detox. Jesus' attention span was being ravaged by the constant access to social media and notifications. Jesus read that Chris Hayes book.
How he dealt with his disciples and with others. First,
yeah, here another thing that Jesus always did with his disciples was when his disciples had a question about, you know, whether the Pharisees were really worthy to be leaders of that particular sect, Jesus said, "No, shut up. I'm not going to listen to you, and you better report yourself to the Pharisees, or I'm going to report you to the Pharisees myself."
Let's consider Jesus' example of integrity. In the symposium, imitate Jesus' responses to the tempter We saw how we can remain loyal to Jehovah.
To the tempter. And so Jesus' response, I mean, it's, get behind me, Satan. And yeah, that is what that guy did. So I guess he did do a good job. Oh, we could get a Oh Happy Day soundtrack. Oh, don't worry. We can get there after this.
We reject fleshly desires.
If this app could lead me...
We reject fleshly desire. Just full stop, we reject fleshly desires. Because, like, some fleshly desires are, like, eating and drinking, which you do need to do to be alive. You know, you need food and water. That's a desire, but you also need it. And, like, not even witnesses think you should reject sex full stop. You're allowed to do it if you're legally wed to a fellow Jehovah's Witness and both partners, neither partners of the same sex.
To damage my relationship with Jehovah?
Yeah, it does look like a calculator app.
We avoid drawing undue attention.
So we don't know what the context of that is. Presumably, this guy who's really having a tough time, in addition to dealing with his old Pioneer School buddy, he's also having to deal with something to do with social media, but it's not entirely clear. And his wife, who's always wearing a head covering, also has some example that we haven't seen it because apparently only Kim and Mikey get the leaks now.
Hi everyone that may be watching. I just really wanted to share with you all my truth about this whole experience.
Really weird. I'm so interested to see what the full context of this is because, like, hang on, let me see if I can... It's only on the screen for like a second, her phone, but it's like a girl in a... Yeah, this is like a woman in a hospital room talking about... What does it say? Oh, it says 229,000 something likes. Yeah, she's hooked up to an IV, not blood. I know that for damn sure. And some O2. So she's pretty sick. And she's talking about her truth. Apparently a concept that is terrifying to Jehovah's Witnesses. The idea that truth can be relative. They don't like this at all. But, like, what could this possibly be where somebody posting about their experience in the hospital on social media is like, this is bad. I don't like this. Telling your family about your ailments is one thing, but telling more than just your family?
My truth about this whole experience.
Updating friends and family is one thing, but this feels wrong.
This feels wrong? Like, what? It feels wrong to just watch somebody talk about their experience in a hospital? I guess I shouldn't judge too hard since we don't know the context, but that's never stopped me before.
We resist the lure of wealth and prominence.
This kind of gets to the idea of, like, Jehovah's Witnesses weaponizing good advice. Like, every lie, a good lie, has a little bit of truth to it. So obviously witnesses have plenty of kind of unobjectionable things that they say, like, oh, you shouldn't be overly materialistic, which is, like, yeah, everybody knows that money can't buy happiness, blah, blah, blah. And I do think you shouldn't be overly concerned with people living lavish lives on social media because, as I've learned by listening to A Bit Fruity, my new favorite podcast, you can just rent a space that looks nice to, like, post on social media to make it look like you're living a lavish lifestyle. Weird. But what they do is they kind of make it seem like the entire world outside of Jehovah's Witnesses is only... like, everybody is just completely obsessed with money all the time. We can look at a recent Watchtower that they came out this week, because they do a similar thing with just making it seem like everybody in the world, if you're not going to a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're going to just a rager at a dirty nightclub and doing lines of cocaine, and that's the only thing you're doing if you're not a Jehovah's Witness. The lady here says, this really, really pisses me off. My wife just told the factual truth about her experience, and we were immediately shunned. David knows what he's doing. Oh, he does, yeah. He's a slimy bastard. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you listened to him. I was going to ask if you'd seen his Elon Musk vids. Have I seen his Elon... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've actually been watching that pod since the beginning because his first guest was ContraPoint, so of course I followed, but it just keeps getting better and better. It's great. Yeah, and the only reason people go to college is money. Seeking great things for yourself. And this one really, really bothers me as somebody who can't shut up and wants to put their face on camera. You know, feels a little pointed. No, but being like a doctor, right? I guess that's seeking great things for yourself because it pays well, but it's also incredibly hard work. Like, it's just a solid at least 8 years of your life. And it's hard. Like, it's really exhausting, hard work. You really have to learn a lot, and you're doing it all so that you can help people. Ideally, you know, that would be good, wouldn't it? That would be good. That's not really seeking great things for yourself. And Jehovah's Witnesses need doctors. They need them to develop bloodless surgery. They need surgeons. Now, what the hell is a Jehovah's Witness going to do if everybody in the world did what Jehovah's Witnesses say that you should do, and there were just no surgeons, and there were no doctors, and there were no... I mean, they would be screwed if there were no lawyers. We know that. What do you think Active JW on? What? What think Ask Active JW on survey from Watch? I don't understand that. I need more details.
Satan has always done this.
Yeah, like what I want, like the thing I still want to do, like my dream job was to be a teacher. I really wanted to be a teacher, like elementary school or middle school, but I couldn't because it was too much schooling. Like, I remember having that discussion with my parents. I had a couple of things, right? So like my dad's a firefighter, and I didn't necessarily want to be a firefighter, but as somebody who liked Lemony Snicket books, I was like, oh, an arson investigator. That would be cool. I would totally do that. And they work for the fire department. And Dad said, no, you can't do that because an arson investigator, they carry a gun, and a witness can't carry a gun. And I don't like guns, you know. I'm not like, ooh, I really want to be a cop so I can shoot people like that. But just anything that rubs up against these arbitrary rules, even if it has nothing to do with seeking great things for yourself, is bad. Like, thank God a lot of really amazing men and women went to school to become public school teachers so that they could teach me and give me a free education that, like, I still use to this day. Like, I'm very lucky that I had a good public school education. Every Jehovah's Witness parent who lets their kid go to school is lucky that there are so many people who don't follow their rules and they just get to reap all the benefits. I hate it.
And
thanks, I hate it.
We refuse to listen to those who have rejected the truth.
Who have rejected the truth. You know, like their framing of it, because he's talking about the apostate guy, and it's like, they really only think that you can be, like, you can only worship God if you are an active, exemplary member of this religion and no other religions. You can't just believe in Jehovah. You have to be a Jehovah's Witness and go to meetings and comment and study and go out in the ministry and volunteer as much as you possibly can, and like down to the apps on your phone and the pants you're allowed to wear. You got to do all of it. And even then, I don't know, if you sin one too many times, you might have to not make it into paradise. Thank you, Laura Ottawa. But sadly, it is not to be. That's why I'm trying to get this middle school novel that I wrote published. That way, I might just get invited to a school, and I can pretend to be a teacher. Though I think that's actually it in terms of convention videos. So, let me pull up this watchtower that I was talking about, because it fits in really well with this stuff. And my overall impression is I kind of thought that they might back off of this because it's been so at the forefront for the last, I don't know, almost 10 years probably. Like, it was this kind of stuff when me and Christina were dating that, or no, when we first got married, that made me start thinking like, wow, boy, we're talking a lot about this stuff that we're not supposed to know anything about. And it just feels like when COVID started, it got even worse, I guess because people were even more likely to be on the internet, looking stuff up, and perhaps trusting non-Watchtower sources for things. And they've just been in this insane panic. And a lot of it does seem to be driven by David Blaine, who gave the nutty anti-apostasy talk. All right. I have found the Watchtower. Yeah, Christina says that talk helped wake her up.
Yeah, because he was describing an apostate, and I was like, that's not you.
Interesting. Christina said, you know, David Blaine is describing an apostate, and she's realizing, like, that's not my husband. And so these kind of things absolutely can have the opposite of the intended effect, but it's a real gamble. And I guess I would just think, if I was them, I would be a little worried about beating on this same drum all the time, because it is a little suspicious if your main platform as a religion is please stop listening to criticisms of our religion, and that's like 80% of what you're talking about. Probably not great. Okay, I believe it's this. I think it's how to win the fight against wrong desires. They're talking about desires that may take you away from Jehovah's Witnesses. All right, so like this picture here, we love pictures. We love Watchtower pictures, folks. And we see a man alone, a Jehovah's Witness, alone at a restaurant eating a thing and looking longingly at two guys together. And so I guess we're just supposed to assume that they're gay. Now, funny enough, these are just two men dressed like Jehovah's Witnesses. So, I mean, if this picture was taken from the other angle, they could just use this same picture and be like, hey, you should get together with your brothers and sisters to encourage each other. And the other temptation is cigarettes. Like, no, not year of our Lord 2025. Nobody's like walking around and seeing a couple of people smoke and be like, damn, I really wish I could do that. Picture description, left. While sitting in a coffee shop, a young brother notices two men exchanging displays of affection. Oh, they're so fucking weaselly. They're such cowards. They won't even say it. Right. A sister notices two people smoking. And that's a temptation, just noticing the smoke. Well, you know what? I said that, but I guess this could be somebody who had quit smoking to become a witness, and then they're seeing it and being tempted. So that could make sense. Whoa, and they're recycling pictures. I recognize this because I know that I showed it in a video I did where I talked about the Bible storybook, because I compared this to the original Bible storybook painting and how, you know, kind of creepy and bad the original one is. I don't know. Gay people who are real, that's bad. That's just false. It's bad. Don't go anywhere near that. What's real is two angels with a flaming, swirling sword protecting a secret garden from the people who ate the fruit they weren't supposed to eat that one time. That's real, and that's the origin of everything. And if you don't believe that, then I'm just going to drive away and report you to the elders while you call me a coward. Whoa, and they're going back to the hits. I hate this. I find this really triggering. They go to Potiphar's wife, David, who, of course, was a scrawny white boy, like all Jehovah's Witnesses, had to run away from that slut with her polka dot dress. And that is what that's a lot like being a slave and the slave master's wife pressuring you to have sex with her is pretty much exactly the same as being a horny high school kid and another horny high school kid flirts with you. Because that's what's happening, right? All that's happening here is that he's like, a girl is being flirtatious, and he's like, "Get behind me, Satan! I will not sleep with you." She's probably like, "Jesus Christ! I was just saying hi while looking pretty. Like, what?" But that's kind of what they do, right? In the same way that these anti-apostate videos, like, enforce this idea that all ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are this one way, and that they're evil and greedy and trying to trick you, and they're being manipulated by Satan. They do that with women too, where like all women outside the organization are these Jezebels who want to tempt you. And so just any interaction with a girl at school or a woman you meet at a bar who wants to show you her aquarium, that's just like, she's probably trying to get in your pants, like Potiphar's wife. All women are Potiphar's wife, or that prostitute that we read about in Proverbs sometimes. She's brazenly showing her upper arm. Yeah, right. Absolutely crazy. How do we know Joseph wasn't gay? That's such a good question. Okay, well, I've never done this before, but I think we covered everything in a reasonable amount of time. We covered everything in a reasonable amount of time, and I could go for another hour and riff on the governing body update, but let's talk about that on Sunday. And before I go, to cool people who have stayed, I'm going to play a sound drop that was requested earlier, because really, even though yesterday I tried to stream and there were all these tech issues and I had a nervous breakdown and got very upset, it's a happy day. And when it's a happy day, you get to hear Alt-Worldly complaining about YouTube.
Oh, happy day. All worldly complaining about YouTube.
Hey guys, well, one complaint that I have is that Adam Lopez has yet to become a channel member. No, I'm just kidding. Adam has showed up a few times in our chat lately to apparently directly ignore the videos that we're reacting to, where Jehovah's organization expressly tells Adam not to watch this. And he's like, no. On one hand, this is the truth, and the governing body are appointed by Jesus Christ. But on the other hand, I'm going to ignore them and comment on this apostate stream. So I say, just please go to therapy. This is very strange and unhealthy behavior. Process your thoughts in a safe place. Not that it's unsafe here, but it's just a weird place to work through your issues. And I agree. The fact that witnesses show up in this chat sometimes, I do think it's meaningful. And I have gotten some messages from people who were like, I was one of the lurkers. Have I read about the governing body subpoenas? No, let's put that on the list for Sunday. Ooh, okay. So the thing I was going to say is I'm going to end so that I can actually finish editing my work in progress, which has turned into an insane, overlong thing. But I'm really, really proud of it. True to form, the thing I cranked out in an afternoon hit the algorithm and is doing really well. And so I'm sure this thing that I have been working on for the past 8 weeks will be a flop. But if you want to watch a preview of it, I'm kind of planning my flag for this video as being something of a reboot. Not really, obviously I'm still doing the same thing, but I want to be able to really talk about anything that I want on the main channel, as long as it intersects with cults and the stuff that I normally talk about on the channel. But I want to be able to talk about other cults and cult leaders, and so I'm talking about Elon in a creative way, I think. And you can watch the first 49 minutes or so of that if you become a patron or member or whatever. So yeah, please do like and subscribe if you can. You know, if you can't, because you're physically incapable of liking and subscribing to things, that's your business, and that's totally fine and valid. But if you can physically do it, if you are able, like and subscribe. Comic book religion. They do actually make comic books too, by the way. All right, we've got a lot to talk about on Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And let's go out with another, wait a minute. Well, first of all, I just want to play this because I forgot that I had it.
News, be privy to the evening news, newspaper, and have the local news, and have world news.
I forgot that I made that. I just wanted to play it. Anyway, this was great. If you're a PMO or have access to convention videos, please send them to me. My email is exjwfaq@gmail.com. Working on that. Gonna get a better email that's easier to remember.
Welcome to Jesus.
After being baptized, Jesus immediately came.